Mic check 1 2 1 2. Mic check. We're in the green. Hello, 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 hello. Okay, I got it. I'm starting a little bit earlier for those. I know we start at 4, but I'm just gonna start now just to get some of my projects out of the way. So, um, I'm just gonna wait for everybody once 4 o'clock hits. But those of you that are with me, so what I'm doing first right now is I'm just gonna create a new project, completely new. We're always gonna create a new project, and I'm just naming it terrain test because today, oh man, where's my book? Today we're getting into terrains, and now we're actually going to be building physical um, environments in our scenes. So those of you that are logging on, I'm giving you some time to catch up right now while I do this. So while this is loading, this is something I've been creating today. So what we'll be doing in our scenes, let me get rid of this camera preview. So we will be creating terrain in terms of working with shapes and then trying to create boundaries. And when all said and done, hopefully I can get you to get a chance to walk around in your built terrains. But yes, this is something I've been building today. Um, but yeah, so once we build yours, hopefully I can get you to get into the terrain. Mind you, for this example, I am using Unity 2018. We might switch back to this just because I've realized that 2018 is really not that buggy compared to the new one. So depending how things go, that's what we're gonna do. But right now, I'm going to be using your version of Unity, so that way it's apples to apples. So while I'm still waiting for everybody to join in, I will be reading your chat through YouTube. If you have anything to ask me, you can also talk to me via student discussion board. I will have that up as well. So that way, if you have anything, you can make sure you can contact me 2 different ways. If you have any questions on today's lesson, you have that available to you. Let me just close this one out just a little bit. Okay, cool. All right, that being said, so last week we learned how to um, add materials to our objects. Yes, when creating a project, remember we always want to make the right folders. So let me just make materials. Um, and you learned how to create different materials. Do I have my magnifier on? Okay, so we learned how to create our materials, right? We went to create, went down to materials, and created one. So let's just name this test. Zoom out for you. Let's move that on here. So you can drag and drop it, or remember you can, yes, you can drag and drop it as far, you have to drag and drop the materials, but you can drag and drop pictures on the actual object. So just to show you a quick refresh, we'll change the color. Let's change it to green. Let's make it more, we can change these so you remember how to do that. Change the metallic and smoothness of an object. Then one last thing before I switch over to terrain. I am kind of moving fast. This is just for me to refresh for you. Yes, so once you find an object that you like, I like to save it in my project. And then try to find the picture. I want to let me drag and drop. That's weird. Okay, that's fine. I don't understand. Okay, something's weird with my computer. I really don't get why this is not letting me drag and drop it. Okay, well, I really don't know. Today Unity has actually not been working well for me at all. Like I've just had the worst luck with Unity. Nothing that I do with Unity is trying to go the way that I want. I just don't get why it's not letting me change the picture. Unbelievable. Alright, let me see. Will it let me import it at least? Yes, okay. So, if that happens to you, where Unity is not letting you upload something, you can always go to Assets, Import New Asset. Let me zoom in for you. And then, I found my picture right here, so I imported it. And then let me zoom out for you. And then it should appear somewhere in your folder. So, remember, and to do that, we just drag and drop, and bam, place that in. I don't remember if I showed you guys how to do videos, but let me show you how that would look. So, for example, here is, wow, I really have to import every new asset, huh? So here's a video I made not too long ago. I made it on a green screen. So just to show you how this works, one more time. We will create a new object. We'll go to the inspector tab, click add component. We're going to add video player. Let me just put that video in there. Make sure we loop it. Now, generally speaking, let me get rid of this camera. Right click the cube. You can create a new camera that way, very easy. Let me just hit play and see what happens. There we go. See? There's my video. Although it is what's it called? It is backwards. I can show you how to fix that. It's just basically you go here and just do 180. Oops, sorry, not 180. You rotate the z-axis by 180, and I believe that should be it. Yep, there we go. See? Now it's perfectly fine. Okay, so that being said, let me just make sure we're all here. I know I'm a couple minutes in. 2 people are watching, very good. And all right. So today's lesson. Let's just clear everything off. We don't need, we can keep these folders. So today's lesson, what we'll be dealing with today is terrain and environments. So you might be asking, what's the difference between maybe me using a cube to make a terrain, right? Because we know how to make a cube flat, and then we can just do that and just make our terrain on a square, and nobody would really know. But the only difference between this and making a terrain is that, let me show you. So a terrain, and the way to make a terrain is, let me show you. Go to game object, 3D object, terrain, and it will make you a terrain. Let me back out. Sorry, let me zoom out real quick. There we go. And let me close this for me. You can keep yours, just so you can have more space to see what's going on here. All right, so cool. Unity made us a terrain. So the difference between a terrain and other 3D objects is terrains are more modifiable. For one, when you look at it from the top view, you can see the plane. Let's just call it for now. When you look at the bottom, you can't see anything. So mind that when we get into cameras. So when we add a terrain, we'll see this little box right here, and then let me zoom in right here. We see that we have, again, we have a position, rotation, scale. That's always going to be with any object. Then we have the terrain tool and the terrain collider. The thing is, with the terrain, it's set up in several sections. One, this is the create neighboring terrains. This is the paint terrain tool, and under that, there's some more subtools that we'll get into. This is the paint trees, pretty straightforward. This is how we make our trees. So there are assets out there that you can download for free that will give you free trees, and I will show you how to do that. And then when you download those trees, this is how you paint those trees. So think of it, you'll have like a brush, and you'll just copy and pasting the trees. But they give you options right here. You see, how big the density of your leaves, how high it is, how the root is in coordinates to the what is it? Oh my God, I guess the trunk of the tree. So that's the tree. Then we have the flowers. Same thing. If you have any flowers, which Unity does give you, or I actually could provide for you, you can paint your flowers that way. And then this last tab is the terrain settings. And I'm going to start here first. So let me zoom out just a little bit. So right now, every time you make a terrain, doesn't matter what project you're working on, right? They will always make the terrain for you in this settings right here. You see? It's always going to be by 1,000 wide by 1,000 long and 600 on the height. 600 on the height means, think of like you're playing a level, any video game, right? What's a good example? Call of Duty, right? Here's a very good example. Call of Duty only has certain height between your character, like maybe you'll run up the steps to a building, but you're never going to be on the roof of the building or above that, right? So they set a terrain height for that reason. So these are, I believe, in Unity per pixels. So I believe I have the conversion somewhere. I will post it if those that want it. So these two are most important here for the terrain. What you want to do, what I would do is, let me zoom out for you. Let's change this to something more manageable. Let's do 100, hit tab by another 100, boom. And then hit F as soon as you're done, and it should zoom in here. Notice that there's little checkered patterns. So you might be asking, what is that? So this is what I did. So I rearranged the width and the length of the terrain. Everything else, let's not touch for now. Leave it alone because it's just not going to. It's not. You don't want to work with the light mapping. These things are not really applied to this current lesson. So let me just close these down. Wind settings for grass, that I'll talk to you about in a minute once we get there. So yeah, let's leave that alone for now. And let's click the paintbrush. So notice as soon as you click the paintbrush, and make sure you're matching me. So this is smooth height. Let's just do raise or lower terrain because that's where we're going to start here. And notice the different brushes you have. This one being the regular one. Oh shoot, let me make that brush size little. We have this, and it actually gives you a preview of what it's going to look like. We have this brush. See, there's different kinds of brushes you can use to paint your terrain, which what we'll be doing. See, even stars. So, what I want you to do, let's pick one out, and let me zoom out. Oops, let me zoom out for you. Oh, oops, wrong button. There we go. So, let me click my terrain, and two things I want you to notice. One, the brush size. Let's turn it all the way up. Notice how, oops, let's not actually. Some of your computers might not handle it. Turn it up just by let's make it 5. All right? So, and then your opacity, what it means is basically how strong the program is going to react to your painted object, right? So if I set it all the way down, let's notice that it's barely moving, right? But then when I turn it all the way up, look at this. Oh, it's crazy. Oh my God, it's unmanageable. So let me just hit Control Z and just take that away. So me personally, my advice to you when you're working with the terrain, keep your opacity fairly low. I keep it under the 20s. So like maybe 10's cool for me. Let me just see. 10 might be too much. Yeah, see, 10's even too much. You want to keep it low, like maybe 5. Oops. Let's keep it 5. Yeah, that's kind of cool. Maybe even, honestly, you can even probably put it down to 2, I think. Let's see. Yeah, 2's cool. I like 2. So for this part, while you're watching me, go around and get a feel for how the terrain reacts to what you're doing. Start drawing like maybe a little cliff, and definitely another advice I can give you, don't hold it too long. Try to give yourself like multiple clicks just to get that more of like a more natural terrain rather than looking like, you know, like somebody could tell that how you did how you painted the level. We never want to we're kind of like magicians, right? We never want to tell the person how we're doing. I mean, you do want to be able to explain it when they want to explain, but you also want to make sure that um, that the player can relate to what we're creating. So like if we're creating something in like a canyon, you want to make sure it makes sense. You don't want to make like a canyon that's like, like I don't know, like just something that just looks like that, Like you want to really add some take your time with building your terrains. So, when you click with the left mouse button, just the left mouse button, nothing else, you notice it rises. If you particularly don't like what you did, you can hold the left shift button and then click, and it takes it away. All right? See how it's all going away? And notice the more my opacity is, if my opacity is all the way high when I take it away, see how it just instantly disappears? That's probably when you want to keep your opacity high, when you're probably deleting things, right? But you don't want to use it when you're you're raising or lowering your terrain. So next on the list, we have paint holes. Now this is a different one. Oh wow, that's awesome. Okay, cool. So this must be a new Unity feature. I'm not used to this, but it's pretty easy to digest, right? So if you want to paint a hole in your terrain, oh my god, that's so cool. You guys are so lucky. We didn't have this when I was in college. So you can paint holes in your terrain. So that'll make it even more natural, right? Like we can shoot, what did I do? Like you can build something around it and make it seem like there's like something more than just that hole. Let's see what else. Are you guys following so far? Does it make sense? Baz, I know you were in my summer class last one of the summers ago, so this might be some new refreshing material. But what's really cool is because when you took my class, they didn't have this feature, the paint holes. So let's look at another one, paint texture. So this one, for painting textures, we actually have to download one. So come with me to Google and let's type in grass texture. And just pick one. Doesn't really matter as long as we can download it, right? And it doesn't give us any issues. So let me just click that save. I'm going to save it to my desktop as grass texture. Always make sure you label what you're downloading because remember, these projects will get bigger, right? And the last thing you want to do is get stuck with not knowing where all your stuff is. So back to materials, right click in here. Remember, apples to apples, keep all your materials where they should be. And let's do import new asset. Let's go to desktop. Grass texture, I misspelled it. And bam, it's in there. Let's hit back our terrain now. And right here, let me zoom in for you. It says edit terrain layers. Let's give that a click. Create layer. And I'm going to use grass texture. And boom, it automatically sets it, as you can see. Automatically set my grass texture. But you're probably saying, hey Vlad, like why are these rows like that? Why do they look like a giant Kit Kat bar? So what you want to do is go back to your terrain, right? Hit paint terrain and click your picture. Now notice this. So remember last lesson we talked about the normal maps and stuff. The terrains have them as well. So if you want to make a terrain have those features, you know where to go. Just go back to that video, find the GitHub website, and create them for whatever texture is that you're making. Now what I want to show you here is this right here, tile settings 2x2. If I set it, let's just set it 1x1 so you can see what it looks like. See, but we need to make this bigger. So start playing with the numbers. If you weren't good at fractions, this could be a problem later because you're gonna have to be You're gonna have to well, in this case, I guess you're multiplying up. So 1 by 1, that's too little. So let's try 2 by 2. Still too little. Let's try 4 by 4. Still too little. Let's try 8 by 8. Getting there. So I'm gonna zoom out because you know where I am now. I'll be here as I'm modifying it. Actually, that might be okay. What about 8 by 4? No. 8 by 8. What about 12 by 12? 24 by 24? I think we're almost there. 48 by 48. No, is that too little? Yeah, sorry, that's too little. Let's do 12 by 12. That's fine. So, as you can see, the moment I added this terrain layer, it automatically adds it to the project. But it doesn't have to be like that. You can actually, like, let's get another one. Let's do mud texture, right? Let's find a good one. This is cool. I like this. This will do. No, see, and if you have the time or the money, you can join these websites, and they have a bunch of textures made specifically for exactly what we're doing. I'm just trying to find anyone just so I can show you how to do it. And I'll name this mud. Let me close this out. And just like we did before, right click, import new asset. Let's find it on my desktop. Mud, import. Cool. Go back to terrain. Click edit terrain layers. Create new layer. Choose mud. Bam. So now, I know that you saw that once I imported the first one, it automatically placed that here. But what I wanted to show you is that the second texture that you add will allow you to actually paint what you're doing, right? Like, see, I'm painting around here. Maybe we can imply that this is a pond, right? So, you know, ponds have some mud around it before there's some grass. So, once you add the first texture, you can't actually paint with it, right? Because you only have one texture. What are you going to paint with, right? So you have to add the second one, and then it allows you to actually start, you know, customizing your space a little bit more. And again, at the Unity Asset Store, I'll show you towards the end some free ones that you can use to make. So notice that I added the mud, and again, see the tile settings. We can do the same thing. What did we have for grass? We set the grass to 12 by 12. We can do the same thing with mud. So go back to your terrain. Let me zoom in for you. Choose the mud. You'll know it's chosen by its blue. Just make this 12 by 12. Why not? Oh, look how awesome that looks. See? So, okay, so now what? So we know how to paint textures, we know how to lower, and we know how to make terrains higher and lower. We know how to add new terrain. We know how to add new textures to make our terrains. Now let's see what's next. We have set height, and smooth height, and stamp terrain. So let me show you this, for example. Let me raise and lower some of this terrain. Actually, let me change this to 5. Yeah, so let me just... See what I'm doing here? I'm just creating a little area. Okay, so watch this. So when you raise and lower terrain, one of my favorite tools that they give you in this program is the set height. And I really hope it works for me because it wasn't working earlier. But what you do is you hit the left shift button, hold the left shift button, right? And then left click any, let's say if you want to set the height to this, right? This is the highest point. I'm going to hold left shift, I'm going to click. And I really hope it works. Now when I paint, now I'm let going the left shift, right? Now when I paint, notice that Unity makes it every single piece at that height. This can be great if you want to set certain areas at the same height. Notice how I'm painting. See? It's all going the same height. Now this is useful for example, watch this. So set height, still on it. Let me get the, let me lower the paintbrush. I want to get the side of this. I'm going to set height to this. Now, when I do that, I can kind of like mess around with the insides, right? Like I can, you see what I'm doing here? Doesn't that look more natural? I know this hole is kind of like a little bit weird. It's new to me too, so I wasn't aware they did that. But that's why I like the set height button, because if you know that you want an outer layer a certain height, but you want the inside a little bit lower, that's what you can do with that set height button. And smooth height. Some of the heights, let me show you an example. Some of the heights, like notice these pins, right? These ones are really pointy, right? Let me just get a little weird thing going on here. Right? So, smooth height smoothens this out. Remember, the opacity, the higher it is, the faster it works for you. So make sure you're interchangeably doing that. But it's just basically taking all the points out and making it more of like a rounder corners. Here, let me turn the opacity up for you. There you go. Those watching, is everything, are things making sense for you? Can you hear me? Is there anything that's not clear so far that you want me to go over before I continue on to show you how you paint trees and flowers, etc.? Just giving you your time right now. Let me ask you in the group chat as well. Double check Slack just to make sure that nobody's talking to me through their part of the class. Okay, cool. Yeah, everything's good so far. All right, great, awesome. Okay, cool. So, next thing, what do we got? Paint holes, we did that. Paint texture, set height, smooth height, stamp terrain. This one, I don't exactly know what this does, so I'm not going. I left click stamp terrain to brush onto. Yeah, we're not going to mess with that. I don't think that's important right now for what I'm trying to teach you. So, next thing, paint trees. How do we paint trees? No trees defined. So, for this example, it'll be best if we go to the asset store. And in our asset store, let's type in speed tree, because they actually have a free sample. And just click free. Oh, that's so cool. How many do they got? Let's just choose this one. This is the actual speed tree program. And let's just hit download. It might take longer on your computer. It won't take as long as mine because I'm fully kitted right here. So when you have the time to download it, if it does download for you quick, just hit import. Make sure all is selected. Scroll down just to take a look what you're downloading. And hit import. I'm just so glad that I'm able to teach this to you from my house, because when I taught this at the college, we didn't have the internet that I have here to show you all the material as fast as I wanted to, because that will be able to help me get you your just so you can understand it better. So what do we got here? We have our trees right here. Don't worry about this right now. These don't touch these right here in your folder, and you'll know it's in there because you'll see free speed trees. If you don't, maybe you download it but you didn't import it. It's a two-step process. You have to download it, give it the time to download, and then hit import, and then import it in. So let's go back to our scene. So let's click our terrain, and it says paint trees, edit trees. Let me zoom in for you. So for this, what you want to do is hit edit trees, add tree. I don't know. Here it is. So then this screen appears. Let's zoom into this together. Tree prefab. Now, it'll help you to write this down just in case you're going to be working with these trees, just so it helps you out later. The trees we're going to be working with is broadleaf desktop. You're also going to be working with the conifer desktop, and then I believe they give us palm desktop. Notice it says desktop, and there's also one that says mobile. That means if you're making a mobile game, you use the mobile version. If you're using desktop, use the desktop version. So for this example, I know we could all use some palm trees. So let's click this little circle button and choose palm desktop. Hit add. Boom. Done. That's it. So just let me zoom out for you. So this will appear. That's not what we want. Hit terrain again. And notice that now we have the palm tree. You can also, let's go ahead, let's add another one just for practice, right? And name it, choose broadleaf. Go back down and hit add. Then go back here to edit trees. Let's add another one. And let's choose, what was it, Confifer? Is that the one that I missed? Conifer? I can't read. Okay. So let me zoom out. Let me make sure everything is good. Okay, cool. So, much like the painted texture, we already have the trees, right? So let me show you how one looks. Same thing. Where's the opacity? It should be here somewhere. Oh, well, maybe it's not. Okay, so brush size. The bigger the brush, the more trees. I like to keep it little, right? So I know I'm placing each tree individual. And make sure you mind your clicks, right? One click at a time, because this is sensitive. See how it can get that quick, and then your computer can crash, probably because it can't handle it. But yeah, so it's just you click, place your trees around. You can change the height over here. See how it says lock width to height and random tree rotation? This means that every time you place a tree, it'll be rotated just a little bit, just so it doesn't look so similar to the other trees. And lock width to height. So watch what happens if I do that. I did not do that. Tree width. So now you can change the height on your own. And I don't know, let's make it 20 or 2. Notice that, see how this one's higher than the other ones? So it's very customizable. You will have to jump in yourself to mess with it. Color variation. So every time you place a tree, they change a little bit of the shading on it. Like I said, just to make sure each tree is not literally copy and paste. I mean, in hindsight, yes, it is copy and paste, but they want to add a script in there to change the output of every tree that you put. Let's put some other ones in here. What do we got? It's best if you keep all these, if you lock the trees to the actual ratio, just because they will, see how this one looks stretched out? Let me get rid of some. See, and just like that, we already kind of have a level, right? So that's how we do the trees. Now the plants, how are we going to do the plants? Let's see. Maybe they give me flowers. Let's see. Maybe as a free asset. Grasp flowers pack. Let's try this one together. So we need these flowers. Let's download them. Possible compatibility. See, we use Unity 4. Let's not use that one. Let's use something more new. Oh, they really insist that we can use that. Okay, that's fine. Let's use this one. So let's download it. Do the trees make sense, Baz? And also other students or parents watching or staff? Is everything making sense so far? It's not too hard. It's just knowing the steps. It all will become muscle memory, and you'll be flying through this like it's nothing. But it's you have to start somewhere. So I downloaded. Let's import now. Hit all. Import. and let's wait. I know that some of you it might take longer. Oh, by the way, Basil, how is your speed? Is it on the computer? Is it going fine, or like is downloading taking a minute? Let me know as I continue. Um, so yes, back to terrain. Let's click it and go to flowers. Same thing. What we want to do is go down here, edit details, add grass texture. Let me zoom in for you. So each one, they have a different thing to hit, right? If you want to add a new paint texture, you always go to edit terrain layers. You want a new tree, you go to edit trees. If you want flower, you go to edit details. And this time we hit add grass texture. Let me zoom out because I'm pretty sure it went over here. Let's bring it back here. Okay, so detail texture, 2D. Let's see what we got here. Bush 1. Notice that when you click it, it says right here, texture 2D. That's a good sign to let you know this is compatible in what you're doing. So let's do bush 6. Why not? Healthy color is green. Dry color is yellow. So remember that how on our trees how it changes the color variation. Same thing with our plants. Healthy plants will look like that, green, and that will look like, and dry plants will look like that. And this is the max width of each plant. Keep it the same unless, for example, so if you ever need to resize, my rule of thumb is this. So for example, if the max width is 1, if you're going to resize it, make it 2. If your minimum width is 1, it's now 2. If your max width is 2, it is now 4. Min height is now 2, max height is now 4, and noise spread is going to be 0.2. And that's how you're going to gradually increase your scaling. We could use Gaia. I could give you Gaia, but for if you need Gaia, I can give it to you. Those that don't know what Gaia is, it was a asset that I gave to my students in the summer class. I'm going to see if I can provide these assets, or maybe I'll create collaboration files. So whatever you do your work, you and I can open the same project. And in there, I'll probably add Gaia for the students to use. But Gaia is... Gaia allowed my students to create and generate environments quicker. So they were able to create this within seconds rather than making things on by hand. So yes, if you want Gaia, I got you. I'll try to figure out to do a collab, and then we can I might not do a lesson on it, but I'll do a quick video on how to do it, so that way everybody knows how to add other students. Maybe you want to work with someone else and get things done. So back to grass, we added the bush, we hit add, and what's it say? Reduce CPU. Yeah, not a problem here. We have an i9. Anyhow, and just like the tree, oh wow, that's a lot. See, notice the opacity, right? Keep it down. I'm going to keep it 0.01. Brush size, let's just keep it 3. And there we go. Placing some bushes around. Opacity is still target strength. Let's make it 0.01. No. What's the least we can do it? I'll take that. Nope. Why won't it do that? Hold on, give me 1 second. There we go. 2 things with this. So grass can be tricky in the sense of you have to take a look here. 1, watch your brush size. 2, your opacity. Remember how quick this thing can overload. And target strength. I'm trying to see if I can get a lower than this. But notice the fractions here. See 0, 1, and then they start changing. I I'm gonna think. I think they do it by. It seems like it's breaking it down in halves. There's like an increment. I'm just trying to wonder what the exact number is, but 0.0625 seems to be the least of the number. Let me see if I do 0.05. Nope, it just jumps there. Okay, so that's what it is. We have to use that. That's the lowest possible target. But notice what we did here. These grass, sorry, these grass textures are in hindsight, they're actually just 2D models, and they will always follow. Let's just say north of whatever we're facing. Think of back in video games when things were 2D, right? It would always face the camera, like it was like 3D games, but they were still made with 2D. It's like no matter what, you can never look behind the character. It's always the front of them. That's the same thing with this, where our trees kind of the same thing, but only for the leaves. So no matter how you look at this, notice how it's kind of like changing directions like that? It's just a 2D model following around. And let's see, what's next? Wind strength. So with everything said and done, remember earlier down here in the settings we saw wind strength? Where is it? Wind strength, speed. Let's just increase it. I usually use Gaia, and Gaia does it for me, but let me see how it looks by myself. Yes. So now that we're downloading assets, I think it's fair to say, let's go to the asset store. Oh, I pray it's gonna work. It's not going. It didn't work before, but I need FPS. I need an FPS controller. Let me see if somebody has one. No. I wish standard assets worked. Last time I used this, it did not work on 2019, but I hope it does work. Okay, first things first. Let's get rid of this 2D stuff. We don't need this. We don't need scenes. Certainly don't need that. We don't need 2D. So when you're clicking things, make sure that for standard assets, you uncheck 2D, because that's not what we're doing. Although, if you are taking Prodigy in the other class with Jacob, this is a good folder to mess around with some stuff too. If you're looking for some quick helpful get-ups. So import package. Please work. I really hope it works so that I can show you how to use the FPS controller to start looking into your own scenes. This is how I was going to try to end the class today, but let me see how it works. If not, I might just show you a different way of doing it in a way that it works. If it doesn't work, I think going forward, we're going to switch Unity versions, because this new version still has a lot of kinks that they got to fix. And that's why I actually went back to 2018, just because I know it doesn't give me that much problems, and everything that I learned is more familiar to me. So let's go back to that. Let's see. What did I download again? Yes, standard assets. I'm sorry. So for my friends that don't know what standard assets is, think of it like this. Imagine you want to be a game developer, and every game can be made several ways. Like they have different engines like Unity, and Unity provides like a little starter kit, right? And they're like, here you go. This is how you should learn the program quicker. Start messing with the standard assets. And one of the things in the standard assets, they give you different cameras, characters, editors, effects, environment, fonts, particle systems, prototyping, vehicles. These probably won't work because of 2019, but sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. It's hit or miss. But what I want you to see is go to standard assets, go to characters, go to first person controller, click prefabs, and then you'll see this block right here. Notice it's called FPS controller. What you want to do with it is drag and drop it into your terrain, and then click F immediately after. and just zoom out. Now hit the W key, or go up here and click the move button and just move this up a little bit. And let's just take a look. I see. So one thing our level does not have. Please work, please work. Of course, of course, of course not. Simple activation menu. Yes, yes, yes. Oh my god, it actually worked. Fantastic. Okay. So notice that my scene's all dark. Next class, we are actually going to be learning about lighting. It might not be a long class. It's lightings and camera. I think I might split it and do lights and then camera another, because there's so much you can do with a camera and it's a lot of fun. So just for this example, because my scene is dark, you can see when I click the game tab, it's incredibly dark. You can do this as well for your scene. Go to game object, hit light, and just click directional light, and that's it for now. Don't want to. If you want after class, mess with it, because this is what we'll be doing next class. But for now, just hit play. Let me just see that it works. Perfect. Okay, cool. Let me just hit maximize only here, so my screen's maximized, and there we go. So use the WASD keys, and you can move around your scene that you just built. So, and remember the wind a moment ago? That's what that does. Sometimes there might not be any wind in your and notice, we didn't buy a single thing to do what we just did. Yes, granted, probably there are a bunch of people that are all using the same assets, but this is your level. This is, you made this. And you can use the space button to jump, hold left shift to run, and you can check out your level this way. You can always see like, maybe that is too high. I gotta readjust that. So yeah, and while we're on the topic of it, let's look at FPS controller together. So that is the terrain in a nutshell. You can do different things with it. Like I had found this texture, and like this is just an example of how I would do it. I want to, like just different, have like different patterns. Just make sure it makes sense. Like this I gotta fix. As you can see, look how choppy and blocky. It almost looks like someone's walking on like sharp pretzels or something. Like no, that's not good. This is a good idea of a crater, but I can probably do better. I can probably raise it. What you can do is like let's raise this up a little bit. I want the outer raised, right? And watch what I'm gonna do. Let's just remember set height. Click. Oh, why is it not doing? See, it's actually something's not working for me on my 2018. I gotta fix that. But what I would have done here is, if I was to create a crater, what I was trying to show you there, like just get something flat. Shoot. And let's get this opacity down. It's so annoying sometimes. Let's get that. That's good height. And what I wanted to do was create like a little circle. It would have been cooler if I can use the rock texture, right? Create a circle. And then I was going to drop, oops. Then I was gonna, oops. I was gonna drop this. And that would have been my crater in the rock. Anyhow, let's see what else we got. Okay, FPS control. Let's look at it together. So I am not the greatest scripter, but when all said and done, and you'll learn this in Jacob's class, um, this script is how your character is working in the FPS controller. Um, Notice that there are a few things in here. One, we have the first person character, and this is more of your camera. And let's look at actually what's in here, right? This is a child of the FPS controller. So the FPS controller is the parent, this is the child. So the first person character controller has the transform, which we all know. We know, and the camera, this is the one I'm going to show you next class, or the class after. So don't worry about this too much. But if you want to have some fun with it, do not touch any of from here, from allow dynamic up to culling mask. Don't touch anything. Mess with the skybox. You can do solid color. Like, I can change it to green. Although you can't see it, it's actually, hold on, let me show you. So what that means is, see, there we go. See when I change it to green? That's what that means right there, the solid color. Skybox, which generally speaking, you don't have one right now, but you could always download them. For example, to put a skybox in, once you download it, there's one for free. It's called Starlight Skybox. Skybox. So if you want to type in, for example, Skybox, hit free. This is the one I used. It's called Starfield Skybox, and there it is. So what you want to do is you go to Window, Rendering, Light Settings, and we will go over this on when I do the light class. And then just drag and drop the skybox into skybox material. That will then give you, see how there's like this empty, vast space of nothingness. A skybox is really just 4 pictures, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pictures, right? You have the front, you have the back, the left, right, up, and down. Next time you play a game, look around outside of what you're in. You'll notice that things don't ever get closer, but you feel like you're getting closer to it. So that's what a skybox is. Let me go back to this. So there is not one in here. By default, there is a default one. I can show you that. See, default, nothing special. Sun source, that's usually your directional light. You can drag and drop that in there. And let me just see what that looks like now. Yeah, so that's my sun. So notice how some areas are darker. That's what that means. Back to this. Okay, let me zoom in. So camera, don't mess with that. Audio listener. So that means that if at any time you're going to work with a character controller, audio listener means that when you become that character, when you hit play, and there's music in your scene, that character registers the music. It's not a script. It's nothing fancy. You just click Add Component and just type in Audio Listener. And that lets you use that object or character or whatever to listen. Flare layer. So that is a thing we're going to talk about in the light, what's it called, course. But just to give you an example, I'll do it quick. Point light. So some things you can add a flare. I don't know if I have one. Oh, here we go. 50 millimeter flare. And when you have it activated on your camera and you look at something, watch what happens. See that? See that little that like light effect? And you're probably wondering, oh, I know exactly what to do with that. Yeah, you can put that in the sky. You can put it in front of a projector box. Yeah, see? And it'll give you that light effect. Otherwise, if I did not have this flare layer, let me turn it off. I won't see anything. So that's what that all means. Now let's jump back to our parent, the FPS controller. These two I already mentioned. This is a script, and this is a character controller component. Unity has a lot of components on I'm going to try to teach you a lot of them as I go. But this one I'm actually not too familiar with because it corresponds with scripting and how the character moves and whatnot. I'm just not familiar with character controllers because I'm not good at scripting. But I can tell you what the rigid body is. So, for example, anytime you want to make an object that you want to add weight to it, right? You want to add gravity, better yet. You want to add a rigid body. So let me show you, for example. Let's create a cube. Let me hit F on it. And let me just add rigid body. Type in rigid body and make sure it's not 2D. Now you can change the mass, the drag, the angular drag, and the gravity. Notice that every single object, most cases, comes with something called a collider. So a collider means if I didn't have it on, that means the box would fall through the ground. If I have it on, it'll collide with the box and it'll jump around a little bit because it has gravity. So let's take a look how this all works. It dropped. I can walk into it. I can bump into it. If you had a sphere, you can bump into that. Sometimes you can even change the mass. Let's turn off gravity and watch me bump into it now. Boom. There it goes flying. No gravity. So let's go back to FPS controller. So that's what rigid body does. This allows, in this case, on the FPS controller, it's giving our character, I guess, general or Earth gravity. I guess that's the best way to say it. These two I don't exactly know what they mean, but one of them means that like the object is static, meaning like if I turn one of them on, it's not going to move. I believe I'll just run into it and no. I'll have to get back into what that means. Let me see exactly what that means. Because I do have the book. I also won't be posting the book's materials anymore. Rigid body components 155. Let's see, what do we got here? So the interpolate, it says determines how and whether the motion for an object is smooth. By default, this property is set to none. With interpolate, smoothing is based on the previous frame, whereas extrapolate is based on the next assumed frame. It is recommended to turn this on only if you notice a lagging or stutter and you want your physical objects to have smoother motion. Let me actually tell you all. Maybe I could copy this. I will make a component thing. I'll make a component cheat sheet and I'll do that there. So yeah, that's basically it. I mean, I feel like that's all I really want to do for this class. I don't want to go in further than that on terrain because that's all for terrain. You just have to really mess with it and create your own thing. Make sure you have a bunch of textures ready to go, and that will make your environment stand more out than just using one, right? Do you have any questions, those that are watching, for me? Anything that you want me to go back over? Anything you'd like to see again? Anything that you saw in my project that you want to talk about that I didn't talk about? Go ahead and write it out. I'm here and I'm going to I'm here for you. So if you have any questions, see how fast you can write it out, and I'll answer it. Can you go over those numbers again where you were saying you have to increase them a certain way? I think it was for trees. Yes. So, trees. Anytime we are dealing with painting or anything, we want to focus on, so if we're talking about trees in particular, what you want to deal with is, um, by default, it's all going to be set to random, and the width and the height is going to be locked, and the tree width is going to be, sorry, let me click a tree. So, the number, I think it was the plants you're talking about. But with trees, what you want to do is the higher the brush size, the more trees you're going to cover. And tree density, the lower it is, generally the less spaced out I believe they are going to be. Or it's, so, oops. But I think you were talking about the flowers. So with the flowers, brush size, right? The bigger the brush size, the more, oops, the more area you cover, as you can see. Oh, that is a lot. But you want to be careful with the opacity and the target strength, because so note also another thing, because I made my terrain so small. Remember when we clicked the gear button and we went down here and made it to 100 by 100? Because I made it so small, a lot of these things seem so big in the terrain. So keep that in mind, because most cases your terrains might not be 100 by 100. I only made it that just for this example. I would probably go with 500 by 500, but notice that because of the amount, the target strength, because of the target strength of this paintbrush, it gave me that many. So just make sure that you're mindful about your brush size. Probably keep it to 1 with these flowers so you can be more particular about where you put it, and then the opacity. Just keep it all down. Unless, for example, you need to get rid of it, and it's the same thing to get rid of it. It's just the same thing as building. You just hold shift and click. But notice that the lower these numbers are, the slower it deletes. So that's kind of like the balance you want to do. When you're deleting, put all these things high. When you're using just, and when you're creating and trying to add, keep it low. And I'll give you a rundown real quick on all of them just before we go. So, if we are raising or lowering, you left click to raise, hold shift to lower. If you are adding trees, left click to add, hold shift to hold shift and click to delete. You might have to mess around with the brush size too. Yeah. And then plants, you saw that. And then left shift, same thing. Alright, let me zoom out. Oh, the numbers. Oh, maybe you meant this also. So when it comes to fractions, right? If something's too small, like for example, let's look at this, right? Min width is set to, let's do it together actually. Min width is set to 1. So let's make this 2. Hit tab. This is 2. Let's make this 4. Let's make this 2, 4, 0.2. And let's see what happens when I notice that they're a little bit higher now. Let's turn this down. Opacity to 0.1. And then brush size, let's just make it 1. Yeah. And then if that's not good enough, do the same thing. Let's make this 4, 8, 4. Oh, check this out. Oh, we can actually see what we're doing. So 4, 8, 4, 8, 0.4. See as it's growing? 8, 16, 8, 16, 0.8. Notice that it's That's pretty cool. That actually is an awesome. Um, this is an awesome asset, especially because how it was so easy to change the scale of things. All we did was just simple math, and we're really precise. That's what you want to do when you scale things. You want to be precise. All right. So I haven't posted it yet, but your assignment is going to be very simple one. Um, I'm not going to have you do the one from the book. In fact, I'm just going to have you create me a terrain. The way you can submit it is I will make a link on the classroom page for submission. It's your call how you want to do it. You can create any terrain you want. You can use any texture. All I ask is that you include a terrain, you include at least one tree, and at least one flower. If you have any trouble obtaining trees or flowers, please reach out to me. I generally answer fairly quick so long as I see it. And oh, hello, Petrie. It's a ferret. So I generally answer fairly quickly, and if something's not working, just let me know. But yeah, so just for your assignment, just create me a terrain. Try to make it look neat. Try to use everything that I showed you today, and it doesn't. You can make it any size you want. Try not to make it 1 by 1 or 10 by 10. Try to go for like at least at minimum 100 by 100, something like this, and turn that in, and that'll be the homework for today. I don't think I'm gonna add a quiz or an exercise. Just watch the video if you forget something, and go ahead and just make me a terrain, and that's it. That's all I got for you guys today. Next Friday we'll jump into cameras in the sense of things like this. So I will teach us how to set up a camera, and then also we can animate and record cameras. Like, watch this. Notice how in this scene, my 3D model, it's making a noise, it's making that face, and then the camera's panning out. So I will teach you how to. We will talk about the cameras, and then we will learn how to animate them. And mind you, you can animate anything, but it's really cool when you can get a camera animation down and do things like that. So I'm excited because we are crossing over to the next level fairly soon, and as long as you're paying attention to the scripting in Jake's class, if you're taking it and you're watching mine, you should be able to take everything together. Maybe you can create something of your own. But that's all I got for today's class, and I'll see you guys next Friday. Thanks. If you have any further questions, you can message me or put it into our classroom. All right? Have a good rest of your Friday, guys.